Do you guys have a favorite pastime, something that you loved to do or play when you were a child, or maybe even still like to do? I know everyone has something that they cherish from their younger days. For me, it's basketball. I played basketball for the first 18 years of my life, and seeing as I'm only 21 right now, that took up the majority of my life so far. I'm going to tell you about the sport, the history, how it is played, and some facts about it. First, I'm going to show you guys a little introductory video on the history of basketball and how it came to be.
It was December 1891 in Springfield, Massachusetts, when a young YMCA phys ed instructor was given the task of finding a different way to keep his track athletes in shape until the snow melted. So he nailed 2 peach buckets 10 feet off the ground and posted his 13 rules on the wall. His name, Dr. James Naismith. His game, basketball. A different way of doing it.
Okay, so as you guys can see, and it said in the video, James Naismith was the guy who first founded basketball in 1891 in Springfield, Massachusetts. And he wanted a different kind of way for his athletes, his track athletes, to stay in shape during the off season. But he didn't want anything as rough as rugby or football because he didn't want them to get hurt. So in the book called Basketball and Its Origins, he says, if you can't run with the ball, we don't have to tackle. And if we don't have to tackle, the roughness will be eliminated. So the first basketball game took place on December 21st, 1891. As you can see in this picture, I know it's kind of blurry, but that's what it looked like. There were 5 basic ideas and 13 basic rules, all created by Naismith. This game was 9 versus 9 using a soccer ball and 2 peach baskets that looked sort of like these ones in the picture. The New York Times put out a book called Basketball History Book, which described the first goals as simply a bunch of simple peach baskets hung at each end of the gymnasium, and hence the game took its name. In 1906, we saw the first ever metal hoops, nets, and backboards we use in the game today. Breakthrough basketball describes basketball as a team sport in which 2 teams of 5 play each other and try to score by shooting a ball through a hoop 10 feet above ground. This game is played on a rectangular floor, usually hardwood like the one you see in the top picture, with a hoop at each end. This court is divided into 2 main halves, one half comprising of a sideline, a 3-point arc, a hoop, baseline, key, and the free throw line, as you can see in this picture right here. You have to move the ball down the court by dribbling or passing. When you score, you either get 2 or 3 points, 2 from inside the arc and 3 points from outside the 3-point line. If you get fouled on either of those attempts, you get 2 or 3 free throws, depending on where you shot the ball from. If you get fouled and your attempt goes in, you get 1 extra point, you get 1 extra free throw attempt, or 2 if you shot from behind the 3-point line. The team that has the most points at the end of the game wins. SportingCentral.com describes the 5 positions that make up a basketball team as 2 forwards, 2 guards, and 1 center. There is a power forward and a small forward. There is a shooting guard and a point guard, and the post player, also known as the center. The shooting guard and the point guard bring the ball up the court and they start the offensive play. They run these plays and are usually the smallest members on the court at the time. The center is typically the tallest. Usually a team is made up of 10 to 12 people, and the extra people who aren't in the starting 5 are substitutes throughout the rest of the game. What does your typical basketball game look like? A typical basketball game can range anywhere from 6-minute quarters to 20-minute halves. Younger basketball players play usually 6 to 10-minute halves. High school is usually 15-minute halves or 6 to 8-minute quarters, and professional play 12-minute quarters. I found this article from active.com called How Far Do You Run During a Basketball Game that did a study that followed forwards and guards to see how far they typically run in an average game, which I thought was really interesting. And they found that usually the average guard runs over 6 miles per game and the average forward runs almost 5 miles per game. Now I'm going to talk to you guys about fouls. So there's possession fouls and there's personal and technical fouls. So the NBA rulebook says that a player who receives the ball while standing may pivot. If he receives the ball in progression, he may take 2 steps in coming to a stop. If either one of these rules are ignored, this is called a travel, and he will turn the ball over to the other team. A double dribble happens when a player who has possession of the ball picks up his dribble and then dribbles again. The offensive team, once past the half-court line, cannot go back to the other end of the court, or it will be an over and back, and the ball will be turned over to the other team. A personal foul, includes holding, pushing, charging into, or contact initiated by the defensive player. The offended team is rewarded free throws or the ball out of bounds, depending on the situation. Technical fouls, as the NBA rulebook states, can be given for any of the following reasons: disrespecting an official, physical contact to an official, use of profanity, or taunting. And this results as a free throw always, and must be taken by a player in the game at the time. Now you know how basketball came to be, the rules while playing a game, and what happens if you choose to ignore those rules. The next time you're bored and looking for something to do, remember the speech and the fun things you can do with the basketball. Thank you.